I have not been moved by a film like I have Hamnet in a long time, probably since I saw the TV Glow, which I could similarly talk about for forever. Now, in all fairness, I am Hamnet's target audience. I am a theater nerd. I studied Shakespeare my whole life. I went into this with very high expectations, but I did not expect it to surpass those lofty expectations. Hamnet is a masterpiece, and Chloe Zhao and the rest of the team should be incredibly proud. Right off the bat, boom, this movie strikes you with how absolutely gorgeous it is. The sylvan backdrop of this film is absolutely gorgeous, and it reminds me of Malasophilia, which is a beautiful touch, but it also quickly introduces the audience to just how important color is going to be in this story. The lush greenery of the forest that Agnes finds herself coming from contrasts with the black and white exterior of the buildings to show the two worlds that our characters are going to be in. Already we're setting up how they complete each other in this way. Then Zhao furthers this juxtaposition. She says, you know what, I'm not done. I'm gonna costume these characters in a way that completes each other, right? Agnes and Will, red and blue, these diametrically opposed colors. But just like the natural and artificial worlds that they come from, this doesn't divide these characters, rather it highlights how they complement and they complete each other. But the thing is, as the two grow, their colors and costumes change, right? Agnes retains the flowy silhouette that her clothes provide her, but her colors shift from red to a more orange dress with the birth of their children, then to a more deep brown, indicating that her role as a mother isn't changing, but the vibrancy of her inner life is fading after being estranged from her husband and after experiencing such traumatic loss, right? Will, on the other hand, retains the gray blue of his wardrobe, but the rigidity of his costume increases, right? He gets a stronger silhouette as he becomes the provider for his family. For Will, right, what doesn't change is his passions, right? Whether that be his love for Agnes or the devotion to his work, but his role changes. He becomes more stoic and pragmatic than the wild man that his wife fell in love with. Another thing that strikes you very visually is how Zhao uses the angular composition to frame the scenes and creates a sense of a proscenium that frames this film. And this makes any change in the scenery very noticeable. When Will and Agnes's bedroom changes, when Judith and Hamlet's bed change and get added to the scenery, when Hamlet's bed finally disappears, the set pieces of this film seem to feel the loss and mourn alongside the characters and audience. And and mourn we will, and mourn we will. At its core, Hamnet is a study in grief. It is an exploration of loss and how that affects a person and a family. Agnes' story touches on a personal favorite topic of mine, that being visceral femininity. And Jessie Buckley absolutely embodies this to a T. She plays Agnes like the rent is due. She plays Agnes with such a strength that informs her character, firstly with the way that she meets Will and flusters him when they first meet, then how she's the emotional rock for him at the beginning of this story, right? In the beginning of their marriage, first by giving birth all by her lonesome, then secondly by giving birth to twins and refusing to let Judith die. Her character is so strong, defined by that strength. And this strength is challenged at every single turn. And nowhere is this strength seen more than when Judith falls sick and when it finally leaves her once Hamnet dies. Hamlet, unsurprisingly, is the catalyst of this whole movie, right? I'm not sure what kind of concoction they gave with Jacoby Jupe to have him act with the life experience of someone 20 years older than him, but Jesus Christ, he sells every second of that performance. Oh my God, he's like 11 years old. He's twice the actor I am. Agnes's character is defined by her relationships, and it is likewise redefined by their absence following the death of her son and the estrangement with her husband, right? Hamnet's character, though, is more closely defined by his relationship with his father and his twin sister Judith, right? Hamnet's character lives and dies, no pun intended, by the setups and payoffs that this movie delivers in spades. Now, as a writer, as a filmmaker, as someone who's familiar with how the sausage gets made, right? Even as a film enthusiast and filmgoer, it is easy to see most of the Chekhov's guns that are being placed in front of the audience. The bird funeral, the whistling, the plague, but this telegraphing isn't to the detriment of the film, actually. In fact, quite the opposite. It creates a Hitchcockian sense of suspense where you see these metaphorical bombs being primed and then have to wait, knowing that they're going to explode at some point. It's fucking brilliant. Two setups that I didn't see coming, one of which I probably should, was the cross-dressing in the beginning and then Will telling Hamnet to look after the family. I suppose these just seemed innocuous enough to be written off as throwaway lines. The first one being just children having fun, and the second one being a typical farewell from father to son, right? These were bombs that I didn't even notice were bombs. I came into this movie ready for Hamnet to die. I was prepared for it. But then I saw him come down the stairs and lie next to Judith to trick death, because it wouldn't be able to tell them apart, repeating to himself to be brave like his father told him to fulfill the orders his father gave him, and then they're breathing together until his breath eventually stopped. God, nothing could have prepared me for that. Nothing. I'm getting emotional just recounting it right now. There was not a dry eye in my theater, least of all me. I was sobbing. I mean, ugly sobbing. People were looking at me. I was having a moment. I was beside myself. This film is laden with symbolism, right? From the Stygian space that we see Hamlet reside in as he hangs in the balance between life and death, the hawk representing a psychopomp leading Hamlet into the next world, and the various doors and the Searchers-esque shots of characters going through them, representing transitions into different stages of life and then eventually transcending it. But the one thing that hit me the hardest was the use of breath. Will and Agnes are unified symbolically while breathing together the first time they make love. Agnes's breath rings in your ears as she gives birth. Hamnet gives his health to Judith by breathing with her, and his death is signified by his painful wheezing slowly coming to a stop. The second half of this movie is characterized by the deep grief that lives within Agnes and Will. Will copes by throwing himself back into his work, but Agnes is unable to move on, surrounded by the reminders of her son living in the same house where he was born and died. Guilt over her belief that it was Judith who would be the one to die. She resents herself for not being able to do more, for not seeing this coming, and she resents her husband for not being there. The story shifts more of a focus onto Will here, as he immortalizes his grief into a masterpiece bearing his son's namesake, Hamlet. And can I just say, God, Paul Mescal was born to play Shakespeare. He does that so well. He even looks like him to the point that I'm like, how have I not made this connection before? This casting was incredibly accurate. The parallels here are clear. The grief followed by a severed relationship between father and son, a family in disarray after a traumatic death, a main character who curses himself for inaction, for not being there to save their loved one, or even to just tell them goodbye, to hold their hands as they crossed over to breathe their last breaths with them, and the cavernous sorrow that beckons you to join them in the afterlife. The finale takes place when Agnes goes to see Hamlet, and Zhao's masterful use of symbolism is in full effect here, right? Where previously the manufactured homes existed surrounded by nature, right? A now manufactured sylvan background exists in the middle of the city landscape of London, right? This play serves to be a cathartic outlet for both Will and Agnes's grief, and it's what brings their marriage back together, reignites their love for one another, after being estranged for so long. Will plays Hamlet Sr., and through him is able to bid a belated farewell to his son while his wife watches. For Agnes, this play serves two purposes, right? She sees how she was not alone in her grief and how her husband was mourning alongside her even if it didn't feel that way. And her belief that Will didn't mourn with her as she did disappears. More importantly, for both of them, it is a final farewell to their son and an assurance that he is laid to rest where he has always wanted to be, in the Globe Theatre, acting in his father's plays. Whenever Hamlet is performed from then on, whether it's at the Globe Theatre or a middle school theater, their son comes alive again for just a moment. And as William Shakespeare said himself, "Or I shall live your epitaph to make, or you survive when I in earth am rotten. From hence your memory death cannot take, although in me each part will be forgotten. Your name from hence immortal life shall have, though I, once gone, to all the world must die. The earth can yield me but a common grave, when you, entombed in men's eyes, shall lie. Your monument shall be my gentle verse, which eyes not yet created shall o'erread, and tongues to be your being shall rehearse, when all the breathers of this world are dead. You still shall live, such virtue hath my pen, where breath most breathes, even in the mouths of men." This movie gets a perfect score for me, 5 out of 5, 100%. It is an indisputable and irrefutable masterpiece that will live in the Hall of Fame of cinema for me. It is a absolutely beautiful, breathtaking, wonderfully, beautifully made film. This is the kind of movie where as soon as you get done watching it, you're gonna wanna watch it again. It is that good. If you're still here listening to this review, what are you doing? Get out of here, go watch the movie right now.